Do you love waking up early in the morning, struggling to figure out what to do with your hair? We've all had our share of bad hair days. Are you ready for a change? Lock it and love it with Lock and Love Salon, conveniently located at 8117 Liberty Road, Windsor Mills, Maryland. Start your lock journey today. Lock and Love's professional services and artistic designs will keep you blazing in the hottest trends while maintaining and protecting your hair. Honey, Lock and Love is an experience. Once you try Lock and Love Salon, you won't try anyone else. Lock and Love offers starter and maintenance locks, fox locks, detox, shampooing and conditioning, lock treatment, lock extension, coloring, and much more. Sorry, but Lock and Love doesn't accept walk-ins. What are you waiting for? Call 410-970-3791 to set up your appointment today. Lock and Love is on Facebook, so remember to like, follow, and share.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing today? This is Dr. Charlene Harrod, known as the Nurseologist. I am coming to you today to let you know about this new podcast. It's called the Blue Scrub Club. The Blue Scrub Club, it is hosting of audience will be CNAs, certified medical assistants, LPNs, LVNs, RNs, nurse practitioners, nurse midwives, DNPs, nursing students, healthcare leaders, caregivers, and advocates. I wanted this program to start so that we can come on and talk about our profession. Maybe it could help a student get used to going into the healthcare field. That is one of my expectations for this group, is to try to motivate young people to go into medicine so that they will know what to expect, what's going to go on, and make a choice for their future. The other part that I wanted to talk about is it's very important to talk about your specialty. Your specialty is so important when it comes down to talking about nursing. Nursing, it takes a team to do everything in nursing that needs to be done for the community. It's not just, it's a one-man show. It's actually a show that's going to help everyone to know who are all the team members that are on the units and the clinics and healthcare, period. Some of the specialties I can talk about is working in an emergency room, ICU, NICU, which is the pediatric ICU, PICU, which is medicine ICU, labor and delivery. We have med surg, we have telemetry, we have oncology, pediatrics, we have home health care, we also have hospice, we have public health nurses, we have mental health nurses, we also have case managers, and we also have a lot of nurse entrepreneurs, which is going to start being a special show that I will do once a month, which means what would happen is a lot of entrepreneur nurses would come on to talk about nursing and to give everyone an outlook on becoming an entrepreneur and working for themselves as nurses. As you know, we have many hats. We have a lot of knowledge that we can, either work at the bedside, we can work for ourselves, we can be contractors. It's just a plethora of things that, nurses can do. So let's talk a little bit about what this podcast is about. It's about bridging the gaps between the general practice and the elite practice. Whether you're a new nurse or whether you are a senior nurse, I want you to feel comfortable coming onto the show and talking about what you do in a day's work. And it's very important that I purposely made this so that CNAs and certified medical assistants could be involved in this as well. It's so important to have the whole team working together so that we can all share what we do and be very respectful to all of the professions that work together. So my target audience is ambitious nursing students, new grads, experienced nurses, nurses transitioning into special roles. Sometimes some nurses, they start off with working in the med surg area and then going into a specialty. Some nurses are very bold and they just go right on into their specialties. So that's why I wanted to have from the lowest level in nursing all the way up to nurse entrepreneurs come on to talk about what led them to becoming nurses. I also want you to know that you can send me an email at the Blue Scrub Club at gmail.com if you're interested in coming in. And like I say, this is for everyone. It's for healthcare leaders, it's for caregivers, it's also for advocates. Say, for instance, if you have a family member and they're interested in learning what to do with their family, they can come on and ask us questions as well. That's the most important piece of this show. This show is to give everyone a chance to be able to communicate with each other. And that was my intention. And that is what this show is going to be about. So let's go into a little bit of talking about what the Blue Scrub Club is really going to be based on. It's going to be centered on nurses, healthcare professionals, caregivers, and advocates. This space is for real conversations about faith, resilience, policies, wellness, leadership, entrepreneurship, and life behind the scrubs. I like that. That's my tagline. That is going to be a tagline for me. And I just love that tagline because it just has a ring to it for me. So we're gonna make that be our tagline. So it's gonna say the life behind the scrubs. I like that. That really has a ring to it. I hope you all can relate to that slogan, life behind the scrub, because it's so important to make sure that we can focus on certain things and know where we as professionals, and I don't want to get into politics about the president and saying who's not professional, in the nursing and healthcare era, we are professionals. We are professionals at the bedside, in administration, education and nursing, supporting patients and their families. That is so important to us as nurses. Now, let me give you a little bit about the highlights. The highlights is real stories from healthcare professionals. I want this to be very genuine. I want everyone who's going to come on the show be willing to, share their experience. It is so important that we share our authentic selves with our community because nursing is one of the number one profession that everyone trusts. That is so important. We are like the number one. People could talk to us, they can let us know what they feel, and in the process of us healing them, we can get them to a point where they'll be more openly to express what's going on with them. And then most people say, Why did you name this the Blue Scrub Club? I named it the Blue Scrub Club because in the past I had a podcast named The Nurses Lounge. So I'm now shifting and growing with my podcast, and now it's called the Blue Scrub Club. The Blue Scrub Club represents service, trust, healing, and dedication across the healthcare setting, which is very important to me. And not only important to me, it's important to my colleagues as well. And, I don't want to, make this seem like it's just for one specific group of healthcare workers. I want to make it across the board. So let's discuss some topics that will take place on here. Why healthcare workers need a safe space to talk. This, I'm hoping, is going to be a safe place to talk for all healthcare providers. We're going to talk a little bit about burnout and emotional fatigue in healthcare. That's very important. We're going to talk about the importance of storytelling in nursing. There is a book collaboration that I was in, and before the show's over, I will show you the cover of the book, and we'll go through some of the co-authors that were in the book with me and talk a little bit about their chapters as well. The other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to honor some healthcare workers across all levels. My plan is to partner with some organizations to have here in Maryland to start doing Nurses Week. I want to do a luncheon of some sort so that we can honor the healthcare workers that really do the work out in the community. And my key message is every role in healthcare matters, from the CNA helping the patients to eat and to the DNPs, which is the doctorate nurse practitioners who lead in the policies for changes. That is very important as well, because as I stated before, we work as a team. And that is the greatest part about nursing, because we don't have to like each other while we're working. But one thing is for sure, none of our patients should see that when they're sick or their family members. So, who is welcome into the Blue Scrub Club? The folks that are welcome into there is every level of healthcare, from CNAs, which is certified nursing assistants. I consider them as the frontline caregivers who provide daily care for the patients. Certified medical assistants, they are the supporting staff to the physicians in clinic settings. Licensed practical nurses and licensed vocational nurses. Now, it depends on what side of the country you're on, whether you are an LPN or if you're LVN. And they both have the same type of training, but one is attached to certain regions in a country. Licensed practical nurses are a vital part to patient care providers in clinics, long-term care, and hospitals. They do a lot of assessments. They pass medicine. They actually, do a lot of critical thinking and being sure that they're regulating all of the clients' labs and medicine, and they specifically talk a lot with the physicians when it's talking about the patient care. Then we have the registered nurses. The registered nurses are the backbone of patient care and clinical leadership. LVNs and LPNs are supervised by registered nurses to help them coordinate care when it comes down to the patient. So that is a big part of, talking about the backbone of patient care. Then you get into advanced practice. Now, in advanced practice, that means that now the registered nurse has went back to school or getting some type of certification to care for patients, such as nurse practitioners with master's degrees, whether it be psych or whether it be another specialty. They have certified midwives, they have clinical nurse specialists, and then you come to the doctorate of nursing practice, which is the DNP nurses. Those are the nurses, and I believe that that is the highest level of nursing that you could have. We also would love to welcome nursing students, nursing educators, hospital administrators, healthcare entrepreneurs, caregivers, and patient advocates. And the other biggest thing that I am going to also initiate in the Blue Scrub Club is I want to initiate school nursing. I have one particular friend who does school nursing, and she is a born educator. She works in Baltimore City Public Schools, and she is passionate about teaching kids about nursing. Now, I would say back in 1998, I believe, or maybe as far back as 1995, the LPN program was in Baltimore City Public Schools. They took it out of the schools, but they left the certification to be a certified nursing assistant so that once they graduate, if they decide to go on to further their nursing career, they can go to a college or to a program where they can take the next step and either go into an LPN, LVN program, or they can go straight into a nursing program. Now, as a nursing program, they still have the ADN class available. They also have the BSN program. Now, which program that fits your needs would be the program that you would take? And what I tell everyone when it comes down to what program they're interested in, I give them a little information about what the programs entail and how many years it's going to take them to complete it. Now, the ADN program is a 2-year program at a community college here in Maryland that you would take, but you would have to complete your prerequisites and take an interest test to get into whichever school you're interested in going. Now, as far as what school you're interested in going, you have to check on the Maryland Board of Nursing, or in DC, Virginia, you have to check the Board of Nursing to see which schools are accredited that you can take. Some schools are not accredited in certain states, and it's very important that you be sure that you make sure that your school is accredited, because if your school is not accredited and you go through your program and then you can't sit for the boards, that would be very bad for you, because you've been at this school for so long taking these courses that are not easy. And I'll tell anybody, nursing classes are not easy. Some of us have started as CNAs and worked our way up. I am currently a licensed practical nurse who's been a nurse for 27 years doing peds. But when it comes down to your education, how you're going to finance your education is up to you, which route you desire to take. Only you know where you should be and at what point you can make that happen if that's one of your plans. Some people decide earlier in life that they're going to be a certified nursing assistant and they're comfortable with what they're doing, and that is fine. I am not here to prejudge anyone when it comes down to planning for your future. How much you can take and how much responsibility you want, because the further that you go up into the nursing levels, meaning the more responsibilities you're going to have as well. And some people don't like those responsibilities. They like to care for the person, do what they need, which is take care of their basic needs, and then they go home and they're comfortable, fine with that. And me, as a practitioner, as a licensed practical nurse with 27 plus years, being a licensed practical nurse, I understand, and I, encourage those who only want to be a CNA to be a CNA. But what I do encourage them to be is the best CNA that they could be. That is what is so important to me. Certified medical assistants. Now, when it comes down to certified medical assistants, I was a clinical nurse lead as an LPN in the hospital, and I worked in a clinic. I worked in two clinics, the one at Lifebridge and the one at Bon Secours Hospital and Grace Medical when Bon Secours was obtained by Lifebridge. And the certified medical assistants, although they did not and do not work under nursing supervision, they work under the physicians. Well, hello there, Miss Brown. Nice to have you here. The certified medical assistants, they work under the physicians when they work in clinics. They don't work under the nursing staff. When I was a clinical nurse lead, I was just assisting them with their any questions they had throughout the day about their clinical functions. I was there to assist them and to report to the physician if they had any other information they need, and I did all of their skills when it came down to skills checklists. That's what my role was, and I had some administrative functions as well. As a licensed practical nurse working alongside of a licensed practical nurse or a licensed vocational nurse, we are equal, which means we can assist each other. We are not to delegate to each other, but we can assist each other if they're asking us any questions. We can. But generally, if an LPN or LVN need additional supervision, they are supposed to go to a registered nurse to give them any supervision or delegating any additional functions in medicine, because the registered nurses are the reporters for the licensed practical nurses. And then once you get into advanced practical nursing, that means that now you have been a registered nurse and now you're moving into your master's programs and you're becoming a nurse practitioner or certified midwife or some type of clinical specialty, and even being a director of nursing or getting your doctorate degree in nurse practice, which means you are a DNP. So I just wanted to, talk a little bit about that. So the spotlight of nursing specialties. We're going to touch a little bit on some of these spotlights. Some of the spotlights in different areas in nursing. Of course, everybody knows that there are certain areas that they consider specialty areas within a hospital. One of those specialty areas is the ICU. The ICU take care of critical care patients that are having a life-threatening condition. It takes a very, very dedicated ICU nurse to work in the ICU. Most nurses who work on the floor cannot be diverted to work in some of these critical care areas unless they have been trained. But they can go to those critical care areas, but take care of less critical patients that are in those areas, such as the emergency room. The emergency room is a fast-paced, life-saving area. In that fast-paced, life-saving area, they do have boarders who stay there, which means that if they have a registered nurse within the hospital who work for the agency part of the hospital, she can, or float pool, she can come down to the emergency room and take care of their boarders. Or in some instance, they're called short stay areas. Those nurses can come down and take care of those nurses. I mean, take care of those patients as well. Then you have the operating room. That is a specialty. That is a surgical precision and teamwork area. Now, as a CNA, I worked at University of Maryland for about 7 years as a tech, and I worked in the PACU. So that was after the patient came out of the operating room. And the PACU is where they go so that they can make sure they are stable after surgery to be sent to one of the areas within the hospital. It could be med surg, it could be ICU, it could be the PICU, and for kids, it could be the NICU. Now, the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, is very, very different than a regular ICU. The neonatal ICU, which is the NICU, they care for the smallest and the most fragile patients. You know, most of us think of patients, pediatric patients being in the NICU, we think of those patients as being under 4 pounds. But what you have to realize is not only the babies that are born under 4 pounds can go to the NICU, you also have some babies that are born over 12 pounds, and they sometimes have to go to the NICU too, because now they are well above their curve when it comes down to the weight and other things that could be going on with those fragile patients. Then in the adult ICU, that is the critical care for life-threatening conditions, which means those patients generally have swans and other IV access that other units don't care for or don't have, because when you're in ICU, you generally have more than one IV access, because they may have to give you some medicine that's not compatible with other medicine. And when you get into having to run certain things in all at one time, you have to have a different IV access in order to do that. Now, can a ICU nurse work in the ER? The ICU nurse is trained in critical care, life-threatening conditions where they're used to running more than 6 medications at once. Now, down in the ER, their patients down there can generally have more than one IV or more than one drip running, but it depends on what that patient needs at that time. Generally, the patient that is on more than 5 drips, they'll try to get them out of the ER and up to an ICU bed so that they can get the proper care that they need. And in the ER, since it's such a fast pace and clients and patients are constantly coming in, you know, you have to have a way to keep those beds open and turning them over very rapidly. Within the ED department, now they have started letting LPNs back into certain areas within the hospital. I do know some of the MedStar hospitals, some of the LPNs are working in the emergency room, med surge, OR, what other specialties? Rehab, oncology, and ortho and rehab. Those are like some areas that LPNs can function as an LPN with an RN as their supervisor while they're on a unit, in case their patient need additional care. That RN can take over those patients and have them transferred to a more higher skilled level unit. Then we have labor and delivery. Labor and delivery is a supporting for mothers and newborns. They have mother baby unit. They also have the nurseries for the babies. So, it's quite a few different areas within the scope of practice as a labor and delivery nurse. Now, as a labor and delivery nurse, that is a specialty. And when I talk about these specialties, I'm talking about it is extensive training that these nurses go through in order to care for these patients, which is so important that they get the proper care. Not only that the nurses get the proper education that they need as well to care for these more vulnerable population of patients or clients, whichever setting you're in. Then you have med surge. A lot of new grads start with med surge because in med surge you get a little bit of every specialty, but you get the patients hopefully that are more stable. But most med surge nurses, which is good, are trained to know the difference when they need to transfer their patients to a more critical care unit where they belong. So that just depends upon what's going on with the patient. And I'm sorry, we got a little visitor here, but give me 2 seconds. Yeah. Thank you, little lady here. Okay. Um, so getting back to the specialties, we have pediatric nursing, which is where I started. When I graduated and became a licensed practical nurse, I started in peds. I started in pediatric home care. And the funny part about peds, I could talk about peds all day long because I just love pediatrics. Because in peds, this is one thing that I always say and I live by it. The only reason why I really went into peds and I love peds is because that is the one nursing profession that you get to play all day when your patient is stable. You get to enjoy, you know, teaching them their milestones and where they are going to help them, you know, meet their milestone growth and their education that they need. And that's why I love peds. Then you have oncology. And oncology, of course, oncology is a specialty, and it's due to the medications that you are given to the patient in oncology. The patients in oncology, they have some stipulations, like if you're pregnant, you shouldn't be working on a floor where it's chemo being given, and or you should not have children on that unit. So in oncology, they have a lot of rules and regulations. That is the difference when you're working in oncology, that they have a lot of rules and regulations for patients, family members, especially kids when they come in. Home health, I have worked in home health all throughout my career for about 12 years. I did home health with adults, kids, and hospice. I found out that hospice was a little challenging because most of the time with the hospice patients, a hospice patient can be on home health hospice for 2, 3, 4, and 5 years. And you could still be their nurse. And what that entails is you are becoming more as a family member to the patient and the family than just being a nurse. And when they transition, it's a little hard on you as well because, of course, like I said, you become a family member. Then we have public health. Public health nursing is so important, and it's basically more community community orientated. When you do public health nursing, you're basically taking care of the community as a whole, and entails taking care of that community. You're taking care of the patient, the family, the neighbors, and other things that come up in a community when it comes down to healthcare. The most challenging part now in every major city is mental health nursing. It takes a community to take care of mental health, under my perception, because it's not just like you're just taking care of that client that's having that mental breakdown. You're taking care, again, the whole family, a community, when it comes down to public health. And now I just want to say a quote real quick. No matter where you work in healthcare, your story deserves to be heard. And that is another part of the Blue Scrub Club. If you're interested in being on the Blue Scrub Club as a guest, where you can tell your story, please send an email to the Blue Scrub Club at gmail.com. And I will get back to you and send you some information with some dates and let you know. My show is shown every Thursday at 5 p.m. And again, I just want to thank all of those who are listening now and all those who will go back and listen to the replay. You can still have your questions answered. If it's anything that you would like to see on the show, shoot me an email and we will see if I can get you on the show, what day I can get you on the show, and we can go from there. And the other thing that I want to say today is happy Women's Month. This is Women's Month, and I want to congratulate all the women that are on here, that are in healthcare, to let you know your voice matters. Even if you're working in administration or working as a clerk in a hospital, your words and your stories matter on the Blue Scrub Club show. Now, some discussion points that we would have on the show would be mental health for nurses, compassion and fatigue, shift work, and family balance. That's a big one. How do you be able to do shift work and balance your family at the same time? Now, I do know during COVID, it was hard for all of us that were out there working because we did not want to bring anything home to our families. COVID is around to stay. So every day that we as healthcare providers go to work, we always think of safety, not only for ourselves, but for our families at home as well. Faith and purpose and caregiving. I have sat back and I have heard people say, oh, you decided to become a nurse, so you just deal with what you're dealing with. But at the end of the day, we are still human as healthcare providers. When other people don't go to work, we are considered essential employees, which means we have to make a way to work. If it's snow and the snow is deep up to our waist, we still have to make it to work. Some people get to sit home, and yes, this is a choice of ours. And what I say is, God made the choice to make me a care provider, and I do the best to my ability, not only the oath that I took as a nurse, to be sure that my patients are taken care of very well. And if I feel like my patients need to go to a high level of care, I advocate for my patients. That is something that I've always learned in nursing. And I had a teacher who was military, so she always would tell us, advocate for your patient, because your patient may not have a voice, but you are their care provider, and you could provide a lot of advocacy for them. So in healthcare, it is very important that advocacy be a part of our daily lives. Um, and why did I choose healthcare? I chose healthcare because of me being me. I have always been a care provider, and I am a advocate for my patient families, and my friends in healthcare, because advocacy is so important. And I encourage all my listeners to share this broadcast, to share how you logged on today, to invite your friends to become a guest on my show, and you to become a guest on my show, because it's very important to let your words be heard. It could be about kids in a neighborhood, it could be anything, because when it comes down to healthcare, the healthcare of our community is very important. Now, for our future guests, some of the conversations, the future episodes will feature nurse innovators. We're going to have some nurses that are entrepreneurs come onto the program and tell us all the fun things that, if you're tired of doing bedside nursing, they can help you go into doing concierge services, opening up spas. They could also give you direction as an LPN, whatever type of work you could go into. Because some people believe that LPNs only go and work in nursing homes. But me as an LPN, and been an LPN for 27 years, I have never worked in a nursing home. I've always been in the hospital, clinical settings. I've been in research. I've done home care. I've done prisons. I've done methadone clinics. It's several other fields that you can go into instead of doing bedside nursing. Healthcare policy and advocacy. That's another form of entrepreneurship. And right now, where Maryland is in our legislative sessions right now, and it doesn't end until, I believe, the first week of April. So if you are thinking about some policies in healthcare that you want to change, then you know what? How about I bring in one of the legislators and interview them and talk about some of their health policies that they've had in this session. I probably won't be able to bring them in until maybe during the summer, close to the fall, because then that'll be the time that they'll be off, because now they're in session. And I believe it's between November and April they are in sessions for legislation. So if it's anything that you feel that would help us in healthcare, then maybe I'll bring one of them in and you guys can interview them. You can ask them questions. If it's something that, when they get ready to come on, I'll post that they're coming on, and you can send your questions to the Blue Scrub Club, and I'll be sure that those questions will be asked during the show. The other thing is hospital leaders. I'm not sure how many of them will come on, but hey, we may be amazed. They may just agree to come on to the Blue Scrub Club and answer some of our questions. Definitely the bedside nurses. The bedside nurses are very, very important. Then we have travel nursing. I did over COVID, I did an assignment in California that I love. I even wrote a book. And one of my shows, I'll talk about that book that I wrote about traveling nurses when I went to California and San Francisco, and I was in Silicon Valley at most of those major factories and organizations such as Google, Tesla. Um, it's where else? I work for the Health Department of California. I work for California's public school system, giving vaccines and working as a healthcare nurse in California, which is the West Coast is a lot different. The West Coast is on a different time zone that we're in. And in order to work in certain states, then we'll get into a little bit talking about compact states as well. So we'll do a lot about travel nursing. And I'll see if my good friend Misha will come on and Misha Mia will come on and talk a little bit about travel and nursing, nurse entrepreneurship, nurses who have survived burnout and found their purpose to work again, whether it be back at bedside or whether they are doing remote nursing, or maybe they just got out of nursing, period. We can talk about those people. The other possible topics we could talk about on the Blue Scrub Club would be nurse staffing crisis. We could talk about workplace safety. We could talk about healthcare and leadership. We could also talk about faith in healthcare, entrepreneurship for nurses. It's just a wide range that we can talk about. And I want to invite my listeners to participate. I want you to ask questions. I want you to communicate with my guests that come on. I want you to really share the log on for this podcast, the Blue Scrub Club. What specialty do you work in? What challenges are you faced with in healthcare today? What story should be told, or what story do you want to tell about where you work? And I also would like to let you know that my stage name is the Nurseologist. And I take that name to heart. The other thing is we're coming down to a close on the show, and I hope I've given you a lot of information about what the Blue Scrub Club is going to be about and how we're going to get people to come on the show. The show is on every Thursday at 5 p.m. Any other thing, this is on Trivia Inspirational Radio. And I want to thank her for opening up this timeline for me to be able to share my profession with you guys that are listening. This is where the real conversations take place. This is real healthcare and the real impact, where the voices behind the scrubs are finally being heard. And I just want to thank you all for coming in today. And I also want to let you know again that I was communicating about maybe during Nurses Week, maybe they'll do a small brunch and be able to award some awards to the folks that are going to attend the brunch. This will be the first annual brunch under the Blue Scrub Club here in Maryland. And some information should be coming out about it very, very soon. So my question to you guys is, are you ready to be a guest on the Blue Scrub Club? And if you are, please send me an email. At the bottom of this, you will see the email to send to the Blue Scrub Club at gmail.com. I will respond back to you. And then I want you to send me a response on the Blue Scrub Club at gmail.com and let me know how you enjoyed my very, very first show that we're at right now. And I just want to say that Healthcare has carried me a long way. I started in healthcare long before I graduated from high school, and I am still in it to win it. Whether I'm at the bedside, at home taking care of a patient, or just out in the community giving people information that they need. I want you guys to know that the Blue Scrub Club is here to stay, and you have a voice on the Blue Scrub Club. And I am going to play a trailer for you guys at the end of today. So be prepared to, one, let me know if you're interested in becoming a guest. Two, I want you to rate my show today and send me an email. You can also go on Facebook to the Blue Scrub Club page and join. Tell all your friends to join on Facebook. We have the Blue Scrub Club, the Blue Scrub Club on there, and you can see my video on there. So I want you guys to have a very pleasant week, and I'll see you next week on the Blue Scrub Club. So just join, and I welcome you in to the family. So see down below, you'll see how to contact me, the Nurseologist, at the Blue Scrub Club at gmail.com. Thank you for attending. And please, if you're watching a repeat, please just say repeat. But have a wonderful day, and thank you for listening to all the great things that's coming on the Blue Scrub Club.
Trivia's Inspirational Radio would like to inform you that the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the following show are solely the sentiments of the participants of the show. Trivia's Inspirational Radio Network is not responsible for content. As always, thanks for watching and enjoy the show.